Oh, my God is good. Oh, oh, my God is good. Oh. Someone may wonder, why am I singing? I'm singing because I'm happy today. I'm grateful I'm here and I'm good. I am good. And God is good. So, greetings to everyone out there. Today, we are continuing in the discussion of hypertension. And I'm excited because I'm good. I'm good. I've been given a clear bill of health in terms of my hypertension. I'll share that later, especially to tell you what I did and how I did it and how did I get to where I am. It's been 4 weeks since I started this journey of saying, let me manage my blood pressure and make sure that it goes back to normal. Now, let us start at the beginning and say we didn't really address to say what exactly is hypertension, how is it determined, and what numbers indicate hypertension. When the doctor sees, what numbers does he say you have hypertension? Now, hypertension is a condition wherein your heart, the force of blood in your arteries is too high. The heart is pushing very hard to get the blood to flow to all the parts of your body. Now, this is caused by high volume of blood, or there is a resistance to the flow of blood in the arteries. So the heart is pushing very hard to get the blood where it's supposed to. Now, when we say it is very high, we are effectively saying there is a normal. The normal is 120 over 80. 120 over 80. Anything above that is already a rising blood pressure. There is still a gap between the very high blood pressure and intermediate, where your blood pressure is rising. Now, let us address these numbers, 120 over 80. What does it mean? What does it mean? The number 120, it indicates the force of blood when the heart pumps, when the heart squeezes to expel the blood into the arteries. That is the pressure. So it is supposed to be 120 if it is normal. Millimeters of mercury, that's the measurement. When the heart pumps, the blood flows into the arteries, that is the number. Now, in between the pumping, the pushing of the blood, the heart relaxes. It goes douche, douche, douche. When it relaxes, that is the portion, that is the number 80, where the blood, where the heart is somewhat relaxed. And the blood is still flowing in the arteries, but the heart is at rest a little bit. So now, if you have hypertension, you have a blood pressure that is above or at 140 over 90, 140 over 90 and high. Sometimes there are people who have a blood pressure of 180 over 120, 180 over. That is very, very high. That's an emergency. So if when it gets to that, I think you have been having certain symptoms, maybe you just ignore it, because you do get some symptoms. You just that sometimes we think, it's just, So now between 120 and 140, they sometimes say it's still intermediate, your blood pressure is rising. Now, if it sustains and keeps going up at 140 continuously for months on end, and it goes above that 140, then you have hypertension. One of these days, I'll have someone who will come and explain in scientific terms. This is a layman's language, but I hope everyone who is not actually a healthcare worker, who doesn't know a lot about health, may understand what I mean. Signs and symptoms of hypertension. Now, this is very critical, because all it's saying is that when you experience some of these signs, you need to go and consult your practitioner, your general practitioner, your doctor. And I need to emphasize that this hypertension is called a silent killer, because generally you do not experience any pain. There may just be symptoms that you feel, that you experience. So let us address the symptoms. One of the symptoms is headache. A headache. When your BP is very high, you have a throbbing headache that is consistent, that is ongoing. So when you have such a headache, day in and day out, you need to really address it. Don't leave it for too long. Because when such things happen, people suffer strokes, suffer aneurysm in the brain, and that is not a good place to be in, because your life changes for the worst. So nosebleeds is one of the other symptoms. Nosebleeds. This is caused by increased blood flow that damages the small blood vessels in the nose. When it's increased, the heart is pushing some of the very small blood vessels, those tiny little things that you sometimes see in the nose, may be damaged, and then there's a blood flow from your nose. It's not a very serious thing, but it may indicate high blood pressure, and therefore it's important to address. I know someone who sees a nosebleed, there's blood, we all become scared. But you need to address it, because it may be a symptom of hypertension. Dizziness. Now your heart is pumping, is pushing very hard. And your brain is very important for the brain to have oxygen, which is carried by the blood. So now if the heart is trying to push hard to get the blood to your brain, and there's resistance, you find that your brain, it struggles to get oxygen. Then you become a bit woozy and a bit dizzy. Because as you know, the heart is pumping the blood to the whole of your body, and the force of this against the artery, the force of the blood against the artery, that's what determines the blood pressure. Now, some of the other symptoms: shortness of breath. If you try to climb up the stairs, besides being unfit in terms of exercise, your lungs are not able to breathe. When you have shortness of breath, sometimes immediately, sometimes unexpectedly, you need to consult your GP, because it may indicate that your heart is working overtime. Blurred vision, poor vision, blurred vision, where you kind of see things not clearly when you actually have not had any problem with your eyesight before. It may also be an indicator of hypertension, because the blood is trying to get, the heart is pumping blood to get to even your eyes, and you may find that this is creating a problem, that your eyes are not getting enough blood, or some vessels, there's pressure on some thing in your eyes. So you may have poor vision or blurred vision. Now, let us go to the next point that says, what are the conditions that predispose to high blood pressure? What are the conditions? One of the conditions that I need to mention first and foremost is the genetic disposition. There are people who have a genetic predisposition of high blood pressure. It runs in their families, like in my family. It can still be managed, but there are some who actually have something called malignant hypertension. Let me see whether I can find the definition of it here. Okay, I can't find it. But in terms of genetic disposition, you have it. It's in your genes. Sometimes it has to be managed using medication. Another condition that is predisposing to high blood pressure, the biggest contributor in life is diet. A high sodium diet contributes almost all the time to hypertension. And if that is coupled with obesity, as well as stress, those factors combined to form a really dangerous situation. So now that we know the reason why we have this is for us to know what are the factors that may cause hypertension, then we can address it. High sodium diet, and I think many people need to know a lot about sodium in the diet, because personally I didn't know that I am eating a whole lot of sodium. So I think I'll stop here today, and then the next one we'll be talking about the tips to manage high blood pressure. And in that recording, I will also address what I did to get my numbers to the normal level, because now I'm at the normal level, thank God. But I had to persevere, I had to push, I had to discipline myself, but it is possible. Thank you so much for being here and for following us and subscribing. Please share this message, because it's a matter of life and death. It's important that we keep ourselves healthy, especially where it's possible, where it's within our control. May God bless you.